All right, welcome back everyone to the deep dive. We're diving into the world of digital transformation today.
Yeah,
And we've got a ton of research here on how technology is impacting work.
it's a lot.
And it's changing everything. It's
Absolutely.
not just about learning new software anymore.
No.
It's about how we think about work itself.
Yeah, it's a fundamental shift.
So are you ready to jump in?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so one of the things that really jumped out at me from all this research is the focus on skills,
Yeah.
like constantly learning and adapting.
You're always playing catch up,
Like
right?
you're always one step behind.
Yes,
You
exactly.
finally learn a new program and boom, there's a new one.
Right.
And you're like, wait, I just figured this out.
And there's something else to learn.
It's like a video game
Yeah.
where you have to keep leveling up your character to face harder challenges.
Exactly. You have to keep leveling up your skills to stay in the game.
Have you ever felt that way? Like you're constantly having to upskill just to stay relevant?
Oh, absolutely. It's a constant pressure in today's world.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, you have AI and automation taking over some jobs.
Right.
But on the other hand, they're creating entirely new ones.
Exactly. It's a two-sided coin.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
No, not at all.
Robots aren't taking over just yet.
Not yet, but we have to be prepared.
So what kind of new jobs are we talking about?
Well, for example, there's a huge demand for AI trainers.
AI trainers, what do they do?
They teach algorithms how to think, basically.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And then you have prompt engineers
Okay.
who specialize in getting the best results from AI tools.
Oh, so they know all the right questions to ask.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a whole new skill set.
So this skills evolution is changing not just what we do, but where we do it too, right?
Absolutely. The traditional office is evolving.
Like, are we all going to be working from home in our pajamas?
Well, maybe some of us will.
But seriously, how is the workplace changing?
We're seeing a massive shift towards digital communication
Yeah,
using platforms like Slack and Microsoft Teams.
right.
It offers flexibility and can be more inclusive by connecting people across locations.
That makes sense.
But it also presents challenges.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, it can lead to isolation.
Right.
If you're not careful, you can end up feeling disconnected from your colleagues.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. And leaders need to adapt to these new challenges.
How so?
They need to find new ways to build a strong team culture
Okay.
and prevent that sense of isolation.
Got it. So how are they doing that?
Well, some companies are experimenting with hybrid work models,
Okay.
blending remote work with in-office collaboration.
So a mix of both.
Exactly, because they're realizing that face-to-face interaction is still important.
Yeah, for things like brainstorming and team building.
Right.
It's hard to replicate that online.
It can be. And this brings up another challenge.
What's that?
This shift towards digital communication and the constant need to learn and adapt,
Yeah?
it can create this always-on feeling.
Oh, yeah. I struggle with that.
It's a real problem. It can lead to burnout.
Definitely. So what can we do about it? Does the research offer any solutions?
Well, it highlights the importance of setting boundaries.
Okay.
Some companies are implementing right-to-disconnect policies.
What's that?
It encourages employees to switch off outside of work hours.
So no checking emails at 10 p.m.
Exactly. It's about protecting your personal time.
I like that. But on the flip side, some companies are using technology to monitor their employees.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's a bit controversial. The research suggests it can increase productivity
Okay.
and even help identify security risks.
So there are benefits?
There are, but there are also concerns about privacy and trust.
Right.
If companies are using monitoring software, they need to be upfront about it.
And transparent?
Absolutely. And they need to explain how the data is being used.
Otherwise, it can create a really negative atmosphere.
Yeah, people will feel like they're being spied on.
And that brings it to another ethical consideration.
Data privacy?
Exactly. It's a huge issue in the digital age.
It is. How do we balance the need for data with the right to privacy?
That's a tough question.
It is. The research emphasizes responsible data management.
Okay.
Companies need to collect and use data in a way that respects employee privacy
Right.
and complies with regulations like GDPR.
Which is?
The General Data Protection Regulation. It's a European law that sets strict rules for data privacy.
So it's not just about avoiding legal trouble.
No, it's about building trust.
And ethical considerations go beyond just data privacy.
Absolutely.
There's also the issue of equity,
Yeah,
making sure that digital transformation doesn't leave anyone behind.
right. We have to think about the digital divide.
What's that?
It refers to the gap between those who have access to technology and those who don't.
And the skills to use it effectively.
Exactly. And this gap can create new inequalities.
So how do we bridge this divide?
Companies need to be mindful of these potential inequities.
Okay.
And they can offer things like digital literacy training programs
Okay.
or subsidized internet access.
That's a good idea.
And they need to make sure their technologies are accessible to people with disabilities.
So it's about leveling the playing field.
Exactly. Everyone should have the opportunity to thrive in the digital world.
And of course, with all these changes, there's bound to be some generational friction.
Oh, definitely. You've got digital natives,
Or are?
people who grew up with technology, they're comfortable with new tools.
Okay.
And then you have people who are less comfortable with change.
So how do we manage this?
Companies need to recognize this potential for friction
Yeah.
and find ways to bridge the gap.
Like what?
Well, mentorship programs can be really effective.
Where different generations can learn from each other.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
But ultimately, the success of any digital transformation hinges on leadership.
Oh, absolutely.
Leaders need to champion these changes.
And communicate their value.
And get everyone on board.
Exactly. They set the tone for the whole organization.
So how do we actually implement all of this?
Well, the research emphasizes that rushing into digital transformation without a plan is a recipe for disaster.
It's like trying to build a house without a blueprint.
Exactly. It's not going to end well.
So what's the right approach?
A phased approach.
Okay.
Start small, test new technologies, and get feedback from employees along the way.
And provide training and support.
Absolutely. That's crucial.
And all of this ties back to those customer-driven pressures businesses are facing.
Yeah.
To stay competitive, companies need to be adaptable and innovative.
And that means having a workforce that's comfortable with digital tools and continuous learning.
Exactly. It's all connected.
It is. So where does this all lead? What's the future of work?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. The research talks about human-centric design.
What's that?
It's about using technology to enhance our work lives, not complicate them.
So making technology work for us.
Exactly.
Not the other way around.
Right.
Like a smartphone that's easy to use.
Yes. Exactly. Intuitive and user-friendly.
I like that analogy.
It's about making technology our friend.
Not our foe.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is to embrace a mindset of continuous learning and adaptability.
Okay.
The skills you have today might not be the skills you need tomorrow.
That's a good point.
So be curious, stay informed, and be willing to step outside your comfort zone to learn new things.
That's great advice. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive into the world of digital transformation.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been fascinating, and I hope everyone listening feels empowered to embrace the future of work.
I hope so too.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
See you then.